Eskom says stage 6 power cuts will continue into the weekend. The utility power says it has to replenish emergency reserves, and this is due to the increase in demand because of the cold weather. Now, Eskom has the failure of, says the failure of generating units has also not helped. It says lower stages of rolling blackouts are possible from next week once reserves have been replenished. And this is despite Electricity Minister Jose Nsoramokopa this week saying the utility would be able to handle the winter demand. And we're joined now by energy expert, Professor Sampson Mamphweli. He joins us to discuss this and what we can expect throughout the rest of the winter season. Prof, good afternoon to you, and thank you so much for joining us. And I mean, the one thing is the fact that we were promised that we will not suffer because of, low or higher levels of energy. I'm sorry, I just didn't realize which side of my shoulder you are on. So let's just start with what the promises made by the energy minister initially and where we are today. Was he lying, or was this something that was out of his control?
Good evening to you and the viewers. So the optimism that the minister expressed was justified, because if you look at the breakdowns at the time where he expressed that optimism, they were sitting at about 15,000 megawatts, and we didn't have load shedding at that particular point in time. However, the reason why we didn't have load shedding was because most of the large power consumers were not using too much electricity. They reduced their demand and focus on maintenance of their systems to try and avoid the high electricity prices during winter. And some of us cautioned that moving towards summer, and when some of these start to ramp up, it will have an impact, a negative impact on the power system, which is exactly what has started happening. But partly, the other biggest reason is the fact that we now have higher breakdowns, or what we call unplanned capacity loss factors. So the system is sitting at about close to 18,000 megawatts of breakdown. So that is mainly the main cause of the higher stages of load shedding. And that, coupled with the fact that Eskom does not have enough generation reserves, is now putting the strain on the system. So basically, the minister was justified at that particular point in time with the data that he had at that particular point in time. With new data coming in, I'm sure even himself, when he comes on, he will be able to indicate that we are in a much different stage at the moment.
Prof, I suppose that's the contradiction that we'll have to live with. As you're saying, circumstances do change. The infrastructure at some point would be working optimally. We know there's the issue of either sabotage or poor quality of the coal and all other elements that are put into this particular challenge. But Minister had also said that he's now reached out to other SADC neighbors, Mozambique, for example, to boost the energy capacity in the country. Is that still part of the mix to ensure that at least for the rest of the winter period, we're not suffering stage 6 or even more as we go on?
Yeah, so those are still part of the plans, and some of them are short-term plans, some of them are long-term plans. If you look at the power that's coming from Mozambique, on a short-term basis, we're looking at about 100 megawatts. That will ramp up to 1,000 megawatts. So in terms of planning, those are still very much in the mix. I am aware of some of the efforts that the Minister of Electricity will be bringing on board, such as looking at your demand response and how to deal with those matters, and as well as basically implementation of the President's Energy Action Plan in general. And all those efforts coupled together will be able to get us out of the current situation. It's only that most of them are medium to long-term kind of efforts.
All right, independent power producers, of course, who are saying that Eskom has got allocated slots for them to provide alternative energy. The only challenge is that the requirement is for them to be shovel ready and having had the construction or the infrastructure to start operating. You think that's also part of the delay why we're not getting the energy mix to its optimal level?
Yes, so that's correct. So Eskom has got a big infrastructure backlog, especially on the transmission side of things. I know the Minister of Electricity has announced that he will be soon announcing a plan to deal with the transmission infrastructure so that we can be able to bring in new generation capacity, especially on the renewable energy side of things. Because if you look at the grid, it's a constraint, especially on the side of the Eastern Cape and the Northern Cape. And some of the efforts include bringing some of the projects to other provinces that have got grid capacity, such as your Mpumalanga and Limpopo provinces, where we've got infrastructure, but the resource is not as good as the resource that we have in the Northern Cape and the Eastern Cape and part of the Western Cape as well.
All right, Prof, we're going to have to leave it there. Thanks indeed for your time and drive safely. Well, at least you're not driving, but thank you indeed for your time. We're speaking to energy expert Professor Sampson Mamphweli, just giving us a reflection on the energy plan and where we are as the country. Of course, we are now on stage 6, as you can see, the top corner of your monitor, which means there's 4.5 hours of outage coupled with an additional 2.5 hours in your day, and we're suffering the same. So it's minute fast bite. What do you do? But let's